You want me to what now? Jake's eyebrows shot up so high they nearly disappeared into his messy mop of hair. He stared at the alien professor standing before him, trying to decide if this was some sort of elaborate prank. Professor Zixnax, a towering insectoid creature with 4 arms and compound eyes that shimmered like living gemstones, clicked his mandibles in what Jake had come to recognize as a sign of impatience. I said, "Human Jake, that you are to take the Galactic Aptitude Test. It is a requirement for all sentient beings wishing to pursue higher education in the federated systems." Jake couldn't help but laugh, a sound that made Zixnax's antennae twitch in confusion. "Right, Prof, but you do realize I'm already in higher education, right? I mean, unless this whole exchange program thing has just been one long fever dream." They gestured around to the cavernous lecture hall of the Intergalactic University of Xenobiology, its walls adorned with holographic displays of alien life forms that would make David Attenborough weep with joy. The professor's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sound Jake had learned was the equivalent of an exasperated sigh. "Yes, Human Jake, I am aware of your unique situation. However, the Board of Galactic Education has determined that your presence here without having taken the GAT is an oversight that must be corrected." Jake leaned back in his chair, which obligingly morphed to support his new posture. He couldn't help but grin. "So what you're saying is the bigwigs upstairs are freaking out because a primitive Deathworlder managed to sneak into their fancy school without jumping through all the proper hoops." Zixnax's compound eyes flashed a deep purple, a color Jake had come to associate with embarrassment in the professor's species. "Well, your colorful interpretation of the situation, while not entirely inaccurate, fails to grasp the gravity of the matter. The GAT is not merely a hoop to be jumped through. It is a comprehensive evaluation of a being's potential, designed to guide them towards their ideal path in life." Jake couldn't help but snort. "Right, because an alien test can totally tell me what to do with my life better than I can. No offense, Prof, but that sounds like a load of." "The test," Zixnax interrupted hastily, "is tailored to each species' unique physiology and psychology. For most sentient beings, it is a lifelong process of self-discovery and growth." That caught Jake's attention. "Hold up, lifelong, as in their whole life?" The professor's antennae twitched in what Jake had learned was the equivalent of a nod. "Indeed. The average completion time for a GAT is approximately 73% of a species' natural lifespan." Jake's jaw dropped. "You're kidding me. People spend most of their lives taking a test." "It is not merely a test in the way you understand it," Zixnax explained, his tone taking on the patient cadence he used when lecturing particularly dense students. "The GAT is an immersive experience, a journey of the mind and spirit. It presents challenges tailored to each individual, pushing them to their limits and beyond, all while gathering data on their aptitudes, preferences, and potential." Jake shook his head, trying to wrap his mind around the concept. "Okay, so it's like a really intense VR game mixed with a personality quiz that lasts for decades." Zixnax's mandibles clicked in what Jake had come to recognize as the alien equivalent of a resigned sigh. "If such a crude analogy helps you comprehend the concept, then yes, though I must stress that the GAT is far more sophisticated and consequential than any game or quiz your species might have devised." "Aha," Jake said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "And let me guess you want me to start this lifelong journey of self-discovery when exactly?" "Now," Zixnax replied matter-of-factly. Jake burst out laughing, the sound echoing through the lecture hall and causing several holographic displays to flicker. "Oh, that's rich. You want me to put my life on hold for decades just to prove I belong here? Sorry, Prof, but I've got midterms next week, and I promised my lab partner I'd help with our xenobiology project. I don't exactly have a few decades to spare for your cosmic aptitude test." Zixnax's compound eyes swirled with a mix of colors that Jake interpreted as confusion, frustration, and just a hint of amusement. "I don't believe you understand, Human Jake. The Board of Galactic Education has made it clear that your continued presence at this institution is contingent upon your completion of the GAT. If you refuse, you will be, how do you humans put it? Ah, yes, kicked out." Jake's grin faded as the reality of the situation sank in. He'd worked his ass off to get into this exchange program, to be the first human to study at the Intergalactic University of Xenobiology. The thought of losing it all over some bureaucratic BS made his blood boil. "Fine," he said through gritted teeth. "I'll take your test, but I'm not spending my whole life on it. How long do I have?" Zixnax's antennae twitched in what Jake had learned was a gesture of deep thought. "Given the unique circumstances, the board has agreed to give you one standard galactic week to complete as much of the GAT as possible." They will then evaluate your progress and decide on your status. Jake's eyes widened. A week? You're giving me a week to do what takes most species a lifetime. I understand it seems impossible, Zixnax said, his tone softening slightly. But the GAT is designed to adapt to each individual. It will present challenges appropriate to your species and your personal capabilities. Who knows, perhaps you will surprise us all. Jake couldn't help but laugh again, though this time it was tinged with a hint of hysteria. Oh, I'll surprise you all right. 1 week to ace a test meant to last a lifetime. Challenge accepted, Prof. When do we start? Zixnax's mandibles clicked in what Jake could have sworn was amusement. We can begin immediately. Follow me to the GAT chamber and we'll get you set up. As Jake followed the towering insectoid professor through the winding corridors of the university, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into something far bigger than he realized. But hey, if there was one thing humans were good at, it was defying expectations. Little did he know just how much he was about to turn the galaxy on its head. The GAT chamber looked like something out of a sci-fi fever dream. Sleek organic curves blended seamlessly with pulsing bioluminescent tech, creating a space that seemed to breathe with an intelligence of its own. At the center of the room stood a pod that reminded Jake of a high-tech coffin, if coffins were designed by H.R. Giger on an acid trip. So, do I just climb in? Jake asked, eyeing the pod warily. Zixnax nodded, his antennae twitching with what Jake had come to recognize as excitement. Indeed, the GAT interface will adapt to your physiology and neural patterns. You may experience some initial discomfort as your mind acclimates to the test environment. Jake snorted. Discomfort, right, because getting my brain hijacked by alien tech is just a walk in the park. I assure you, human Jake, the process is completely safe, Zixnax said, his mandibles clicking in what Jake had learned was a reassuring pattern. The GAT has been refined over millennia to accommodate all known sentient species. Yeah, well, last time I checked, humans weren't on that list, Jake muttered as he approached the pod. It opened with a soft hiss, revealing a contoured interior that looked disturbingly like it was designed to cradle a human body. Any last words of advice before I potentially fry my brain? Zixnax's compound eyes swirled with a mix of colors that Jake interpreted as concern, excitement, and just a hint of mischief. Remember, the GAT is not merely a test of knowledge or skills. It is a journey of self-discovery, a challenge to your very perception of reality and your place within it. Approach it with an open mind, and you may find yourself capable of feats you never imagined possible. Great, Jake said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. So it's like a cosmic acid trip meets a Rorschach test. Fan-freaking-tastic. With a deep breath, Jake climbed into the pod. As soon as he lay back, the interior molded itself to his body, creating a perfect cocoon. The top of the pod slowly lowered, sealing him inside. For a moment there was nothing but darkness and the sound of his own breathing. Then, suddenly, Jake felt a tingling sensation spreading from the base of his skull throughout his entire body. The darkness exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors and patterns that defied description. And just like that, Jake was gone. The first challenge hit him like a freight train. One moment he was floating in a sea of impossible colors, the next he was standing on what appeared to be a chessboard that stretched to infinity in all directions. Towering pieces loomed over him, each one a bizarre hybrid of chess piece and alien life form. A booming voice echoed through his mind, speaking in a language he'd never heard before, but somehow understood perfectly. Welcome, human Jake, to the game of cosmic strategy. Your task is simple: achieve checkmate against an opponent who can see 500 moves ahead and manipulate the very fabric of space-time. Jake couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing strangely in this impossible space. Oh, is that all? And here I was worried it might be difficult. As if in response to his sarcasm, the chessboard began to warp and shift, pieces moving of their own accord in patternettes that made his eyes water. Jake quickly realized that this was no ordinary game of chess. The board was three-dimensional, possibly four-dimensional, and the rules seemed to change with every move. But as he studied the shifting patterns, something clicked in his mind. He began to see connections, possibilities that existed in the spaces between moves. Without fully understanding how, Jake started to make his own moves, his choices guided by an intuition he didn't know he possessed. Hours or days or possibly years passed in that strange realm of cosmic chess. Jake lost himself in the game, his mind expanding to encompass strategies that would have broken a supercomputer. And then, just when he thought he couldn't take any more, he saw it. A pattern within patterns, a move so audacious it bordered on insanity. With a grin that would have made the Cheshire Cat proud, Jake made his final move. The entire chessboard froze, then shattered like glass, leaving him once again floating in that sea of impossible colors. The booming voice returned, this time tinged with what sounded suspiciously like awe. Impossible. You have achieved what no being has done in 10,000 years. You have won the game of cosmic strategy. Jake couldn't help but chuckle. What can I say? Humans have a knack for thinking outside the box. Or in this case, outside the board. Before he could fully process his victory, the world shifted again, and Jake found himself facing a new challenge. And another. And another. Each one more impossible than the last, each one pushing the limits of his mind and body in ways he never thought possible. These solved paradoxes that would have made Schrodinger's cat throw in the towel. He navigated ethical dilemmas that made the trolley problem look like a kid's puzzle. He even managed to explain the plot of Inception to a hive mind of psychic slugs without using the word dream once. Through it all, Jake relied on that uniquely human blend of stubborn determination, creative problem-solving, and the ability to bullshit his way through anything. He approached each challenge with a mix of sarcasm and genuine curiosity, his laughter echoing through realms of pure thought and impossible geometries. And somewhere, in a reality that suddenly seemed very far away, a group of alien professors stared in slack-jawed amazement at the readouts from the GAT pod. Professor Zix-Nax's compound eyes were cycling through colors so rapidly it was making his colleagues dizzy. This is unprecedented. The human has already completed 63% of the GAT scenarios. Professor Quirt, a gelatinous being whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, oozed closer to the display. Impossible. No sentient being has ever progressed through the GAT at this rate. The neural interface must be malfunctioning. I've run every diagnostic, Zix-Nax clicked excitedly. The interface is functioning perfectly. It's the human, he's actually solving the scenarios. Professor Blorp, a gaseous entity contained within a shimmering force field, expanded in what his colleagues recognized as extreme agitation. But how? The game of cosmic strategy alone should have taken years. And don't even get me started on the ethical conundrum of the 13th dimension. It appears, Zix-Nax said slowly, his antennae twitching with a mix of excitement and trepidation, that our human student is employing methods of problem-solving that the GAT has never encountered before. Look at these neural patterns. The assembled professors crowded around the holographic display, their various sensory organs taking in the swirling vortex of data that represented Jake's thought processes. It was a chaotic mess of intuitive leaps, lateral thinking, and what appeared to be a hefty dose of what humans called winging it. Fascinating, wheezed Professor Blorp, his gaseous form shimmering with interest. It's as if he's not even trying to solve the problems in the intended manner. What's that human expression? Ah, yes, he's cheating the system. Quart's gelatinous form rippled with what might have been laughter, cheating, or simply approaching the challenges from a completely novel perspective. Perhaps this is why the humans have advanced so quickly despite their state as Deathworlders. Zix-Nax's mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed this idea. You may be onto something, colleague Quirt. The GAT was designed to evaluate and challenge beings based on the collective knowledge and problem-solving methods of the galactic community. But humans were not part of that equation. Are you suggesting, Blorp expanded incredulously, that this single human student might force us to recalibrate the entire galactic aptitude test? So before Zix-Nax could respond, a new alert flashed across the display. The insectoid professor's compound eyes flashed a brilliant gold, a color his colleagues associated with extreme shock. By the cosmic overmind, Zix-Nax whispered, he's done it. The human has completed the GAT. All of it, in less than a standard galactic week. The chamber erupted into a cacophony of clicks, whooshes, and gelatinous squelches as the alien professors tried to process this impossible information. Meanwhile, inside the GAT pod, Jake was about to wake up to a galaxy that would never be the same. Jake's return to consciousness was about as graceful as a drunken giraffe on roller skates. He flailed, gasped, and nearly fell out of the GAT pod as it hissed open. His mind was a whirlwind of impossible images and mind-bending concepts, like he'd just binge-watched every season of Rick and Morty while on a PIO-fueled vision quest. Easy there, cowboy, he muttered to himself, gripping the edges of the pod as the room slowly stopped spinning. Note to self, cosmic aptitude tests are one hell of a trip. As his vision cleared, Jake found himself face-to-face or face-to-mandible with Professor Zix-Nax. The alien's compound eyes were swirling with a kaleidoscope of colors Jake had never seen before, and his antennae were twitching so rapidly they were practically vibrating. Hey, Prof, Jake said, trying to sound casual despite the fact that his brain felt like it had been put through an intergalactic blender. So how'd I do? Pass or fail? Zaxnax's mandibles clicked rapidly in what Jake now recognized as extreme agitation. Human Jake, Zaxnax began, his voice a mix of awe and confusion. You have not merely passed the GAT. You have, well, frankly, you have broken it. Jake blinked, his mind still trying to process the infinite expanse of knowledge and experience he'd just been through. Broken it? Like I messed up your fancy alien test? Because I gotta tell you, Prof, that thing was wild. Pretty sure I explained quantum mechanics to a sentient black hole at one point. The professor's antennae twitched in what Jake had come to recognize as a sign of extreme perplexation. No, you misunderstand. When I say you have broken the GAT, I mean you have completed it. All of it. In less than a standard galactic week. Jake couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing strangely in his ears after what felt like an eternity in the realm of pure thought. Well, yeah, that was the deal, right? 1 week to do as much as I could. You don't understand, Zaxnax clicked, his mandibles practically vibrating with excitement. The GAT is designed to be a lifelong journey of self-discovery and evaluation. Most sentient beings spend decades, if not centuries, working through its challenges. You solved puzzles that have stumped our greatest minds for millennia. You navigated ethical dilemmas that have caused entire civilizations to collapse. You beat the cosmic chess master. Jake grinned, memories of that infinite chessboard flooding back. Oh yeah, that was a trip. We gotta say 4-dimensional chess is way more fun than the regular kind, though I'm pretty sure I invented a few new rules along the way. Precisely. Zaxnax exclaimed, his compound eyes flashing a brilliant gold. You approached each challenge with methods we've never seen before. Your solutions were unorthodox, to say the least. Unorthodox, Jake chuckled. Prof, half the time I was just bullshitting my way through. I mean, when that psychic slug of a mind asked me to explain Inception without using the word dream, I just started rambling about recursive realities and the nature of consciousness. I'm pretty sure I accidentally invented a new branch of philosophy. Zaxnax's antennae twitched in what Jake had learned was the alien equivalent of a nodad. Indeed, your theory of layered perceptual realities is already causing quite a stir in academic circles. We've had to create 3 new subcommittees just to begin analyzing its implications. Jake blinked, trying to process this information. Wait, what? How long was I in that pod? Approximately 6 Earth days, Zaxnax replied. But the temporal nature of the GAT is complex. But in many ways, you experienced lifetimes of challenges and growth. Ha, Jake mused, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. No wonder I feel like I need a shower and a century-long nap. So what happens now? Do I get a gold star or something? Before Zaxnax could respond, the door to the GAT chamber hissed open, and a procession of alien beings floated, slithered, and phase-shifted their way into the room. Jake recognized some of them as professors from various departments of the university, but others were unlike any life forms he'd ever seen. A being that looked like a sentient aurora borealis drifted forward, its voice resonating directly in Jake's mind. Greetings, human Jake. I am High Counselor Zephyr of the Galactic Board of Education. Your performance on the GAT has thrown our entire understanding of cognition and problem-solving into chaos. Jake couldn't help but grin. Sorry about that. In my defense, you guys really should put some warning labels on your cosmic aptitude tests. Something like caution may cause existential crises and the occasional revolution in theoretical physics. A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the assembled aliens. The High Counselor's aurora-like form shimmered in what Jake hoped was amusement. The PC's propensity for humor in the face of the impossible continues to astound us. But we are not here to simply congratulate you, human Jake. Your performance on the GAT has implications. Jake's grin faded slightly. Implications? Look, if this is about that time I convinced the sentient black hole to go on a diet of dark matter, I swear I was just joking around. Zaxnax clicked his mandibles in what Jake had learned was a sign of barely contained excitement. Nothing so trivial, I assure you. Human Jake, your solutions to the GAT scenarios have opened up entirely new avenues of research and understanding. The way you approached problems, combining intuition with what you call educated guesses and a healthy dose of lateral thinking, it's revolutionary. The High Counselor's aurora-like form pulsed with agreement. Indeed, that we believe that your unique approach to problem solving, which we are tentatively calling human intuitive leap logic, or HIL for short, could have far-reaching consequences for the entire galactic community. Jake blinked, trying to process this information. Okay, hold up. Are you saying that because I basically BS my way through your cosmic SEH, you want to what? To rewrite the galactic educational system? A chorus of affirmative clicks, whistles, and psychic pulses filled the room. The High Counselor's form shimmered with what Jake interpreted as intense excitement. That is precisely what we are proposing, human Jake. Your performance has shown us that there are entire realms of problem-solving and cognitive approaches that we have never even considered. We believe that by integrating these human methods into our educational and research paradigms, we could unlock potential that has remained dormant for millennia. Jake couldn't help but laugh, the absurdity of the situation finally hitting him full force. So let me get this straight. I spent a week in a psychedelic mind pod, solving puzzles and cracking jokes, and now you want to revolutionize the way the entire galaxy thinks. All because one sleep-deprived human with a caffeine addiction and a penchant for sarcasm managed to beat your unbeatable test. Zixnax's compound eyes swirled with a mix of colors that Jake had come to associate with amusement and excitement. When you put it that way, it does sound rather absurd. But consider this, human Jake, your species went from discovering powered flight to landing on your moon in less than 7 decades. You've survived and thrived on a planet that by all galactic standards should have killed you 1,000 times over. And now, you've completed a test in 1 week that was designed to take lifetimes. Perhaps it's time we considered that the human approach to problems might have more merit than we initially believed. Jake ran a hand through his disheveled hair, his mind reeling from the implications. Okay, but what does this mean for me? Do I still get to finish my xenobiology degree? Or am I about to become some kind of intergalactic poster boy for human thinking? The High Counselor's aurora-like form pulsed with what Jake hoped was reassurance. We see no reason why you cannot do both, human Jake. Your unique perspective would be invaluable in helping us reshape our educational and research methodologies. And of course, your studies here at the Intergalactic University of Xenobiology will continue. In fact, we believe your experiences with the GAT will give you insights into alien life forms that no other human has ever had. Jake nodded slowly, a grin spreading across his face as the full weight of the situation finally sank in. So what you're saying is, I not only aced your impossible test, but I've also accidentally triggered a galactic revolution in thinking, secured my place in this university, and potentially changed the course of intergalactic history. All because I approached your cosmic brain teasers with a mix of caffeine-fueled determination and good old-fashioned human bull. The room filled with a cacophony of alien sounds that Jake interpreted as agreement and excitement. Zixnax's mandibles clicked rapidly in what was unmistakably joy. That is, a remarkably accurate summary of the situation, yes. Jake couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing through the chamber and causing several of the more ethereal alien professors to ripple in surprise. Well, in that case, I've got just one thing to say. He paused for dramatic effect, looking around at the assembled alien beings who were now hanging on his every word. With a grin that would have made the Cheshire Cat proud, Jake delivered his punchline. I don't suppose this means I get extra credit on my midterms, does it? The room erupted into a mixture of laughter, psychic pulses of amusement, and confused alien noises as Jake's uniquely human brand of humor once again threw the gathered academics for a loop. And as he stood there, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, all eager to learn from his human intuitive leap logic, Jake couldn't help but think that this was going to be one hell of an interesting semester. After all, it's not every day that you ace a test meant to last a lifetime, revolutionize galactic thinking, and still manage to crack a joke about extra credit. But then again, Jake mused as he prepared to dive into this brave new world of intergalactic academia. That's just how humans roll. The universe, it seemed, had better buckle up. The humans were here, and they were about to teach the cosmos a thing or two about thinking outside the box, or in this case, outside the entire galactic paradigm. As Jake followed the procession of excited alien academics out of the GAT chamber, he couldn't help but grin. Whatever came next, one thing was certain: it was going to be one hell of a ride. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of the cosmos, the sentient black hole that Jake had convinced to go on a dark matter diet chuckled to itself. These humans, it mused, were certainly going to make things interesting. Galactic aptitude tests may have been broken, but a whole new era of discovery and innovation was just beginning. And at the center of it all was one sleep-deprived, sarcastic human who had accidentally stumbled into changing the course of galactic history. Just another day in the life of Jake, the accidental revolutionary of the Intergalactic University of Xenobiology. The cosmos would never be the same again.